Senate Bill 203, Section 1, creates automated claims adjudication systems in statute in Georgia. And essentially what it allows is for a computer system to be loaded with all the appropriate data and then adjudicate a claim on a communications device insurance policy, which communications device is a cell phone, essentially. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So that when you purchase a cell phone, if you insure that phone, you can call up and they've got a system already in place, takes all the information down, and within 24 hours you've got your replacement telephone. What the bill also does is allow for customer service representatives to take that call, enter that information, and report to you as the consumer the result without having to be a licensed claims adjuster for the state of Georgia. There is a requirement that a licensed claims adjuster would supervise up to 25, no more than 25 people can be under one claims adjuster. If there's a problem with a claim, the adjuster solves the problem, not the customer service representative. So that's what Section 1 does. And if you look into Section 3, that's House, but that is, you should recognize as House Bill 298, which Representative Harbin has carried and I think addressed before this committee before. But this is, and I would defer to him to allow a more thorough explanation, and we have some folks here who can answer technical questions. But this is small business investment bill, essentially. It's 298 is, and it is, I will admit, Chairman, a little bit new to me. So I'm learning as I go. So if you have any questions, I'll take help from Representative Harbin and those that are here present. But it is language, again, that I think is unchanged from 298, which you passed.
Okay. So your section is Section 1 and 2.
Yes, sir.
And then Chairman Harbin's is Section 3 and to the end of the bill.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't we, because this is going to be a committee substitute,
yes,
why don't we take care of your portion first, and then we'll ask Chairman Harbin to come up and do his, give his part of this particular bill. Chairman Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator, thank you for your help while ago in Senate Insurance.
Yes,
I just have one question on line 19. It talks about as described under subsection D of Code Section 332312. I don't have that with me, but I'm assuming that's what specifically defines the term cellular phones or whatever.
Personal communication devices. Yes, sir, Chairman. I should have said that, and I thank you for the question. That, in fact, is language requested by the Commissioner. A previous iteration of the bill did have personal communication device. This is a specific reference to the code section which prescribes that,
okay.
And the Commissioner then would approve what policies or what insurance policies would fall under that
yeah,
category.
but I get scared when I read in line 1 down there, 21 says licensed agent, whatever. I don't want to get involved in any of that stuff.
I understand. Thank you.
You've got a couple more questions. Chairman Rogers, is that you, number 3?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, let me make sure I understand what we're doing. This allows me to call an automated computer system that's programmed, and if I have a property claim, I file everything by talking to a computer. Is that correct?
No, sir. Generally, you would be talking to what I will call a customer service representative, a data entry employee who is being supervised by a claims adjuster. That data entry employee is taking the information you provide them over the telephone and entering it into this automated claims adjudication system.
Okay, so I'm talking to a human being is what you're saying.
My understanding is that's how it works. Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Who are
sir.
we doing? Are we doing this for the department, or are we doing this for a particular carrier?
I don't know that it's a particular. I think most all of the cellular telephone companies use this sort of system, and my understanding is they do it now by administrative exception, essentially just how this code section articulates. That, my understanding is they operate like this by administrative exception from the commissioner. They're asking us to codify that this is permissible under state law.
Okay, thank you.
Number 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, I have a quick question. I just want to verify, this only applies to the cellular telephone industry? It's not other PNC type of insurance? It's not health plans? It's just cellular phones?
Yes, that's correct. It's to be clear, it is personal communication devices, but that is correct. That's going to be beepers, but I don't think there's a lot of those commercially in the marketplace anymore. But it is specifically for cell phones.
Thank you.
That looks like all the questions. I'll ask Chairman Harmon to come up and explain the second portion of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to thank Senator Bethel for allowing us to work with him on this. And what we have beginning in Section 3 is simply House Bill 298 that this committee passed out unanimously just a few short weeks ago, but due to time constraints, we were unable to get it out of rules. We were still trying to work some details out. And what you have in this bill is still the Georgia Small Business Investment Company, which creates a trust fund under the Department of Economic Development. And in that trust fund, there will be private dollars invested from insurance companies. And those dollars, there's a max. You can't have beyond. In this bill, our first bill, we had $180 million, but working with the governor's office and others, we have reduced that to $125 million is the most that can be put into this trust fund. Then those dollars are used to try to bring in small businesses throughout Georgia or grow small businesses that already exist in Georgia. And this is being done in Texas, in Tennessee, Alabama. A lot of our neighboring states are doing this, and they have seen a tremendous return in growth of their industries or small businesses in Georgia. In the first bill in 298, we started the payback because we pay back these private investments. We pay them back through premium tax credits. And in the first bill, we were starting in year 2. We are extending that out to not begin the paybacks until year 3. It is still a 20% payback per year up until 5 years. So basically what we've changed in 298 is capping it. Instead of 180, we've capped it at 125 million, and the payback beginning it in year 3 instead of year 2. Everything else in the bill remains the same on trying to attract these industries and help grow Georgia. And I will yield for questions.
Number 26.
Thank you, Representative. Just one quick question. The money raised through this act, and just want to make sure that it can only be spent or loaned to Georgia-based small business. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And if you will, there are some things that it can't be used for, and those are in there. We discussed those in the last one. I think Representative Brockway asked about the oil, and there was the gambling that we talked about. Those are things that are exempted because you're trying to go after more of a high-end, like your biotech, your BioLife type companies that create those high-paying, clean energy jobs that we need to grow here in Georgia. And I think that in the long run, this will benefit us tremendously, and the return will be I think, great for us, and we'll see those revenues coming in through the budget process just because of new jobs in Georgia.
And one more question, if you will. This is the same bill that we passed out of this committee unanimously just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Except for those 2 modifications, and that was, again, working with the governor's office and leadership to reduce the $180 million, to reduce that to $125 million, and to not begin the payback on the premium tax credits. Those won't start until year 3 instead of in the original bill, it was year 2. So it's giving us a little more flexibility or a little more leeway on when to start paying back through premium tax credits, and it's reducing our liability that we will incur once we receive all these private investment dollars. So I think this is a good compromise, and it will still achieve what we want to do. And at the end of the term of this, I think that we will see we like it and we'll probably want to continue to do it. But that'll be up to us to make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
24.
Thank you. I remember when this bill came out.
Yes,
it
ma'am.
had some good things in it, and frankly, I like it. What I'm uncomfortable with today is why it's attached to another bill that really doesn't relate to it. That's something my constituents complained about. They don't like things like that. So let's talk again about why it hasn't gone through the normal process?
Well, it has gone through the normal process. I mean,
Okay.
we just were unable to get it out of rules because we were working through. When you have 180 members in the House and 56 in the Senate, everybody has a different idea on how things should work. And so you want to try to listen and be fair to everyone, and we've included the executive branch in this. And we feel this is in the same code section, and the author has agreed to allow it to be added. We're not trying to sneak anything through. We're taking it back through the committee process and showing it to everyone. It's not being done at the last minute. So it's still getting, I think, its fair hearing, and I think this is a fair way to use it. I agree that it has been abused at times, but I think in this way, this is the perfect example why you should still have these opportunities, because I think delaying this 1 year costs Georgia a lot of jobs, and that's why I think it's very important for us to move this now attached to this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Harbin, for clarification, would you take me back through why the amount was reduced down to the 125 from the 180? What
Well,
was the reason for that reduction?
Just more cautious, because we will have that liability beginning and that paying it back through premium tax credits. But we have the use of that money now. Instead of 2 years, we have it for 3. So just trying to meet everyone's concerns or just the issues they might have. We moved it from the 180 to 125 million. We still think that's a sufficient enough money to help us to attract those industries and grow the jobs here in Georgia. But it kind of gave some relief to members of this body and the other body and an executive branch, gave them a little comfort, rather, that that was a more manageable number as we start paying this back through premium tax credits. We think that we will more than exceed the 180. I quite frankly do. But just to try to get that comfort level so that we could move this forward.
So you see this as a phase-in kind of process, and
Well,
we'll see how it goes and adjust later?
You know, some of the states have renewed it. Some of the states have seen it working so well, they've come back and renewed it. And I think, quite frankly, we will come back, renew it, and possibly take the investment opportunities for those companies, raise that level so that the trust fund's even larger and we can grow more jobs in Georgia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proper
Chairman.
time, I'll make a motion to pass, Mr. Chairman.
Well, since we don't have any more questions, I guess now's the proper
I
time.
move to pass, substitute to
Senate bill.
Senate Bill 203 as amended.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay, we're gonna have a substitute for Senate Bill 77. Yeah, 177, and I'll ask Representative Hembry if he'll present his bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. If you'll find the substitute to Senate Bill 177, I guess we're all familiar with the federal health care issues in Washington, and the states are trying to figure out how to deal with all these plans and maybe come up with some solutions as we move forward. But at this point in time, the states are just scurrying, trying to figure out what to do. If you'll look with me on the substitute, you'll see what we're going to try to do here in Georgia. As we know, there's a federal mandate under the Federal Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, and this simply says that no federal dollars that are used in this new health care program would be paying for the abortion services, except in the case of rape, incest, or when the life of the woman would be endangered. And this applies to any state insurance plan that Georgia enacts under the federal guidelines. Section underline 2033-65-2 just says the Commissioner of Insurance shall make sure that these Georgia plan is abided by the law that we pass. And if you'll turn over it, also the Office of Management and Budget will oversee these areas, as well as Government Accountability Office, as well as other offices in the government. And finally, in Section 33-65-3, it just says that the Commissioner shall complete independent audits of insurance companies who offer these health care plans to make sure they're in compliance with the guidelines that we've set here. So basically, just saying that you can't use, in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, you can't use federal dollars to pay for abortion services except in the case of rape or incest or when the life of the woman would be endangered.
I think you've got at least one question. 18?
Mr. Chairman, thank you to the author of the bill. Would you cite for me the necessity or the rule that says that we can say how federal dollars can be spent here in Georgia as you identify in 3365-1?
Well, I think there's a little bit of confusion. I think most states are trying to figure out what the federal mandates are, and they're trying to follow the guidelines of the federal program to make sure these health insurance exchange plans are proper. And in our case, we're simply saying that if you're going to have a plan in Georgia, that these federal dollars would not be used in the cases that I've mentioned.
And what is the site that this is based on?
I think the state has the right to set up an exchange plan that it deems best for the citizens of its state.
So there is no site. This is what we think we should have. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're trying to follow the federal guidelines, but at the same time, we're trying to do what the citizens of Georgia wish to enact, and this is one of those measures.
Hi. Along
Hello.
that, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've specifically said federal dollars. This is not opening the door to state dollars, is it?
No.
Thank you.
Number 19.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hembry, Representative, isn't this currently the law in the federal act that you cannot use those federal dollars except for in the case of incest rape? Wasn't that one of the amendments that was offered by my Republican colleagues out of the 169 amendments that's in this bill?
The gentleman's correct. This measure here just simply makes sure that whatever plan is enacted in the state of Georgia, the insurance commissioner, as well as Department of Budget and Planning, as well as the health departments, make sure they follow these guidelines, and these insurance companies are not providing these services with federal dollars in the state of Georgia. So it's just, in many ways, it's an oversight for our state to follow the guidelines that have already been put in place in Washington. So we're just doing what we can here in the state of Georgia.
But like I said, this is in the bill. It was put there. It was added to the bill.
And we're adding it to the measure if it comes to Georgia.
I don't understand why.
If we have a law in Georgia that says it in our statute that this will be the way that these plans are carried out, then we'll also have the federal law. So we'll make sure that any state operations or any health plan that's occupied or planned in here in the state, the commissioner will be able to have the oversight to make sure that there's none of these services are being provided.
So you're saying our law is going to supersede the federal law?
Well, didn't say that, but I just said that our law in Georgia will have the proper language that says it, just as the federal law does.
Okay.
Chairman Rogers.
Wave off.
Okay, I don't see any other questions from anyone. So I guess it's time for a motion. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move to pass.
All right. Got a second. Do pass in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. Okay, is Senator Stone here yet? Sorry, I didn't see you down there.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. And this is not a substitute. This is the real thing here, right?
It is.
Okay.
Senator,
166.
Mr. Chairman, may I proceed? Senate Bill 166 addresses continuing care retirement centers, also known as CCRCs. This is an industry in Georgia. There are 16 current facilities. One of them, I believe, in Columbia County, Representative Harbin's district. What these facilities provide are a range of living arrangements for senior citizens, starting from independent living, progressing to assisted living, on to nursing care. These typically involve large upfront entrance fees, sometimes a couple of $100,000. They are regulated by the insurance department because of the risk involved with the monies that citizens pay to reserve slots in these facilities. The existing law does not require much in the way to assure financial stability of these facilities. And the concern in the industry has been to avoid the risk of a failure and the subsequent loss of monies that have been invested by the senior citizens. Sometimes it's their life savings. Industry standards now require about a 25% of annual revenues held to assure that they will be financially solvent. In Georgia, it only requires, under current law, a $10,000 bond for the entire facility. So over the last 4 years, the industry has worked with the the insurance department to amend the regulations to bring them up to date and assure stability in this industry so that it can grow without risk of major loss to the residents. Now, the bill accomplishes two things primarily. One is to modify the disclosure arrangements to increase the amount of disclosure that prospective residents receive prior to making that decision to put down their funds. Previously, the law only required annual reports of financial operations. The additional advanced disclosure now requires background information about the operator, business history, and whether there's any criminal record or anything that could impact on the risk. The reserve requirement of 25% of annual revenue is one that facilities are allowed to build up to over a 5-year period, 5% a year, and the industry is satisfied that it can handle these requirements and really is in full agreement with the proposal here. This started out, there was a House bill identical to this. It made it out of subcommittee but did not make it beyond that. This was Representative Mike Jacobs' bill in the House and my bill, of course, in the Senate. Mr. Chairman, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
If I remember right, when it passed out of subcommittee, it passed out unanimously with
Right.
Representative Jacobs when he made the folks who came to make their presentation. And he's going to carry it for you in the House?
That's correct.
Okay. So number 18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for my information, I understand that you're trying to protect citizens in the case these businesses fail, so that they won't lose what they invested. Have we had any to fail here in Georgia?
We have not, and we've been fortunate in that respect.
Okay.
Have we had any that, because of the economy the last 2 years, that the initial deposit didn't cover the potential loss that occurred during these last 2 years, so that some people may have had to move out?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
So far there have not been any failures or near failures to my knowledge.
Okay. 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to confirm that the department, this language has been vetted out with the department, and
it has.
There's consensus. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question, comment? 28?
Yes, sir. Just a quick question. To your knowledge, this is exactly the same as there's no changes to your knowledge
Right.
to the bill that Representative Jacobs brought to us?
There are no differences.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I'll be willing to entertain a motion. Move to pass second. All in favor? All opposed, like sign. Very good. Well,
Thank you,
folks,
Mr. Chair.
thank you. And Representative Jacobs is going to carry the bill, and I have enjoyed this year's Insurance Committee meetings. This is probably the last one of this session, unless an emergency arises. But we're finished with ours for right now. Y'all have a good rest of the session.